What up, roomies? I feel like growing up, we were taught that being selfish is a bad thing. Like putting others first, sacrifice, don't think about yourself too much. But what if it actually is the reason so many people feel burnt out, stressed, and stuck? Today's guest is flipping the whole idea on its head. He's an author of Get Selfish, and his message is simple but powerful. If you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to show up for anybody else. So today we're talking about what it means to be selfish actually, why people struggle to put themselves first, and how doing that might actually change your life. Brian, welcome to Neighbors, man.
Thank you
And
so much
thank you
for
for
having
being
me.
on, bro.
Pleasure.
It's all good. So yeah, man. So what's up? How you been? I know we were just going through how your day's going, but let the roomies know what's going on with you.
Not too much. It's Easter Sunday. Just been hanging out with the kids. We're trying to get Easter dinner made and really make sure that we're taking care of the necessities of the day and enjoying our Sunday.
I feel you, man. I feel you. Today's been kind of restful for me. We were talking about that pre-recording the show and whatnot, but your book, Get Selfish, right? It has one main topic, and that's putting yourself first in order to help everybody else, right? So why do you think people feel guilty for putting themselves first?
Oh boy. Well, that's a very broad area and has a lot of avenues to it. The whole concept of get selfish and why I think people really need to look after themselves is because, in the grand theory of it all, we are no good to anybody else if we don't look after number one. How can you pour with abundance? How can you show up as your best self? How can you live a thriving life if you're a burnt out hot mess who can't function? If
That's a
your
big
life
fact.
if your life is garbage and trash and you're feel like crap and you look like crap, how in the world do you expect to show up, give your best self, or be good for anybody else? How do we be the best parent? How do we be the best husband? How do we be our best selves? How do we show up best for our work/careers if we feel like garbage?
No, that's a big fact. Because if you're not feeling healthy or not feeling good, you're not really good to anybody else.
Absolutely. It's the whole core philosophy that if our buckets are depleted, broken, toxic, if we're not so aware, if we are not critically looking at what is being poured into us, what we're able to pour back out, what we have in our tank, then what's the point of it all? I know that sounds awful to say what's the point of it all, but it's so true that if you stepped back, and this is the lesson that I love people to look at and really dive into. Take a moment, go look at yourself in the mirror, and really ask yourself, who am I? What am I? What am I doing? And most of all, do I like and do I know the person looking back?
True.
And those couple of answers are a huge starting point to really looking at everything around you. I have a metaphorical thing I call the bucket. If you want to get a little more
Was
metaphorical and you need
yeah,
something
yeah.
to look
Yeah,
at.
break down the bucket for us.
Okay. Everybody has a bucket that we all know is our energy, our capacity, and everything. You have what fills your bucket and what does your bucket look like? What does it feel like? Like, we could go on for hours just alone on the topic of the bucket. But
Yeah.
from a starting point of it, it's purely taking that moment to assess, do I have any energy? What do I feel like? It's really doing that self-reflection, that inner hard work, that looking at, what do I feel like? When I look in my bucket or I look in the mirror, does it feel good? Does
True.
it look good? Like, I'm going to pose you a question. If today you sat there and said, how much energy do I have? How does that energy feel? What am I able to give back? And then you take it a step further, and you go, well, why do I feel that way?
Yeah.
And we can take it to a place of, okay, starting, we'll say energy. I've got really low energy. I feel like crap, and I just can't get up off the couch. Well, what have you been eating? Have you had any exercise? Have you spent any time with good people around you? Have you had any good input, or have the last, I don't know, dozens, even let's go the last couple days of your life. We'll
Yeah.
bring it to a real short period. Have you eaten like garbage and let your boss yell and scream at you all day long, and your house is disgusting, and you haven't showered in 2 days? How are you going to feel?
No, any person in that situation, especially with like your environment and your own personal hygiene, if you don't got that on the wraps, you're not gonna feel good at all. You know what I mean? Like even after a long day of work without having like a decent shower and like being in like a clear environment, you don't feel good. So I get where you're coming from on that.
So we're going to look at this in two scenarios.
Yeah.
Scenario one is the person I just described that hasn't showered, feels like crap, eaten crap, boss has yelled at, goes to the store and has to try and deal with people, goes through the cashier line, and the cashier says something that you thought was towards you or that you didn't like. How are you going to react compared to the person who looks good, feels good, has been having a great time? And how is that comment from the cashier going to be different?
Well, person A, the person who's in a crap environment, they might lash out a lot more, or they might react, more maliciously versus the person in versus person B who's got everything pretty much together, clean, in a good environment. That person might show the cashier a little bit more grace, or just let it roll off his shoulder and just ignore it.
Absolutely. It comes down to if you've looked after number one
Yeah.
and you've done good in yourself and you're happy, you're vibrant, when you go out in public, you can pour with abundance. I'll take you right back to a scenario that's in my book and a bit that I kind of dive into in the book, that there was a period of my life where going to the grocery store alone gave me panic attacks. I I was such a hot mess and I was just everywhere
Yeah.
that a simple task like going to the grocery store and dealing with people and looking people in the eye gave me absolute panic attacks.
Damn.
And
Uh,
now I can tell you that I love going to talk to people. I think that my whole goal in life is to pour out to people and serve and be of abundance. But I can't do that. And I recognize to this day, if I'm not feeling great and I go to the store and I can just tell where my bucket is, and I'm so aware that there's days where I don't want to talk to anybody because I know that my bucket, I'm just like depleted. I am like, oh my goodness, this bucket needs some refilling with something good, because if I don't, I might snap at somebody.
yeah.
But it's that cool part that we get to choose and have that awareness. And that's the growing point. You get to start being that hot mess. Everybody does. You have to be a hot mess to want to get better. But there's such a difference in the life you can live and how it affects everybody around you. So I'm rambling on that a little bit just to hammer in the point and the difference between point A and point B.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that in point A and point B, right? When you're in like that state of, let's call it a state of frenzy, right? That you're in this frenzy where you're not, treating yourself correctly. You're not taking care of yourself. You're not doing what you got to do in order to keep yourself up. Your energy's all over the place, and it's harder for you to kind of like concentrate that and help serve other people when you're like not able to kind of like pinpoint what's your own issues and problems versus scenario B where you got your shit together, and it's easier to help other people. It's easier to say, hey, I might be a little busy today, but if I could squeeze you in, I got you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I'm never going to sugarcoat this. I tell people with a very no BS, no unicorns and fluff, that getting out of that hot mess and doing this hard work of getting selfish
Yeah,
is going to be the fucking hardest thing you do in your entire life.
it
Like,
definitely is.
there's nothing easy about choosing yourself because it comes down to the philosophy that I built and that it's really where it came from. How many times have you wanted to do something for yourself? You wanted a little you time. You needed to do something that was your boundary, that was within your faith. You needed to do something that validated yourself. And someone else looked at you and said, you're being selfish, or you're being ungrateful, or you're being difficult. How many times has someone else made you feel bad because you wanted to choose yourself?
Plenty of times that happens to everybody.
But
That
why?
happens to everybody.
Why are we living in a society where choosing ourselves and being healthy is now called selfish? Why has everybody else got the right to take what they want and pour toxicness into us and not allow us to have our boundaries, our morals, our values, our respect, our self-dignity, and really choose ourselves?
I think it all depends on the type of person that you are. Like for instance, right? And this is just to give you like a little background on myself. I'm an only child, right?
Yep.
And I'm one of the very few boys in my family. Like I have a very large family, but mostly girls, right? So there's certain things that like, especially in a Hispanic household, there's certain responsibilities the males have versus the females and whatnot. You know, being providers and protectors. That's besides the point. But it comes down to like your position and how people view you, kind of. Because it's like, let's say you're, and this is an example. Let's say you're tech savvy, right? You might have your aunt, your cousins, your sister, your brother that they don't know nothing about technology and they're always calling you, hey, how do I do this PowerPoint? How do I use ChatGPT? How do I do this? How I do that? And then the day that you're like, yo, I'm burnt out, I just need to chill out, you stop answering your phone. They're like, yo, but what's up? Like, what's going on? Like, you have a problem with me? And they don't, and people take that personal. People definitely take it when you're not able to help them and you just need to like kind of buckle down on your boundaries. People take that personally, and I don't understand that.
People take that personally because they're unable to recognize their own space that they're in.
Yeah,
People, I hate to say it, get so wrapped up in what they need and what they want and the pace of their life that they forget to look at the factor that, hey, maybe you've been run ragged all week and you're having some difficulties in life and you're really stressed out. Maybe now's not the right time to try and put something more on your plate or ask a favor. Or maybe I need to look at myself and accept and be able to slow down and say, okay, he can't do it right now and he won't jump when I want him to. So I need to be okay with maybe if I ask, hey, can you help me in a week?
yeah. But that's the thing about it. People really don't see it like that. You know what I mean? And yet again, it all comes down to how people view you and the position of your responsibilities.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
you know what I mean?
It's
So it's like, for instance, I could be, I could have worked 12 hours, right? I'm dead tired. I get home, I get a phone call from my mom. She's not the most technologically savvy person, and my father works at night, so she might say, "Hey, yo, I need you to come over here to do something for me." I might be dead tired, but I still gotta go check her, and she might know it, but I still need to go see what's up. You know what I mean? And some days you might be able to say, you know what, today ain't the day.
Yep. So you have to be able to decide, are you okay? This is a big piece to it too. And when
Yeah,
it comes to the whole getting selfish and setting your boundaries and saying no to things or saying yes, you have to be okay and very aware that sometimes when you say no, or I can't do it right now, or that when you set that boundary, there might be a pushback. Well, there's going to be a pushback for sure. 90% of the
yeah.
time, there's a pushback.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Although, on the other side of that, you have to be able to be aware and okay with, when I set my own boundary and this person pushes back, am I going to be okay with the fact that it makes me feel not great? Or you said it's your mother, and all of us sons want to do
Yeah.
everything for our mother. And you might need to look at it and go, okay, I'm dead tired. This is past my boundary. This is something I would typically say no to. Are you going to be capable and okay with crossing your own boundary for that person? There
Yeah.
comes that choice. You might have set a firm boundary that, I'm in bed by 10 o'clock every night, and this is my boundary. I don't cross that for anybody. Well, your mother calls you at 9:55. Are you going to make that choice to step over your own boundary?
Mm. For her, definitely, because that's Mom Dukes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That's Mom Dukes. Anybody else, I'm gonna be like, nah, I'm in bed. That's it. I'm done for the night. But when she calls, it's a different story.
Yeah. So it's all these fine pieces. And I really make sure that I always explain to people that everything has its own realm of flexibility and
Yeah.
choices and decisions that we have to make around them. Nothing is set in stone, nothing is rigid. At the same time, everything is set in stone and everything is rigid.
That's a big fact. That's a big fact because of the
We
fact that it depends who's asking. You know what I mean?
it's this very big philosophy that I live by, that I have core values and staples and boundaries and beliefs that are absolutely 100% set in stone. Even my own mother, there are certain pieces that they don't get crossed, they do not get broken, they do not get pushed over. That is the core staples. Although the caveat to it is that as much as those might be set in stone, there's going to be a scenario somewhere in my life. There's going to be a time where I need to make that choice. Can I handle? Can I be okay with stepping over these for a moment for this scenario?
Yeah. Yeah. And that happens constantly. No, well, not constantly. Well, once in a blue, you'll have that scenario where you're like, okay, I have to go handle this,
Yeah,
even though you're dead tired. And that comes down to responsibility. It's not that you're not putting yourself first. You know what I mean? Is sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean?
absolutely. That brings me into, it's a little bit further into the book, but I love this chapter that I wrote on. There's a whole section in my book called the Figure It Out. It's
Okay.
a stage in your life where you've gone through the growth and you are in the mud of it and things are happening and not everything's under control yet, but you just figure it out. There are pieces and seasons and times in your life where everything you do, you could call it still be a bit of a hot mess, but you figure it out. And as you put it, you do what you got to do in that period of your time. I reflect on that and go, there was a season in my life where the bills needed to get taken care of, and we were still in debt, and we were struggling. There was a lot of sit on the floor, cry about it
Mhm.
because we didn't know how we were paying rent, but we figured it out. We got gritty, we got hardcore, and we figured it out until we could build a precise plan that we knew was completely actionable, realistic, and functionable.
Yeah. But what I'm getting from that is that this figuring it out period is really a growth period. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
massive.
Massively, because what I've noticed is that and this is corny to say, but like the hardest battles are the quote unquote God doesn't put his gives his strongest soldiers the hardest battles. That quote, but it's like the universe kind of like plays with you a little bit. It's like, okay, cool, you want this, you want peace, you want prosperity, you want abundance. All right, cool, we're gonna give you the opportunity to see if you really
Mhm.
want that. And this is periods of growth that a lot of people are resistant to because they want it to be easy. They want it to be, a cakewalk, when life, on the other hand, is not as easy and as, dandy as people want it to be.
Absolutely. This is the stage when you are in your figure it out season, that you now get to apply all the tools you've learned. You get to really find out where those boundaries, those levels of respect, those pieces that you've picked up along the way in your journey of growth and development now get implemented and put into the fire. You are now lit in the flame, being pushed, tested, your capacities being stretched. The universe or God or however you want to put it is now looking at you and saying, I've stretched you this much. I've taught you these lessons. You've now picked up these tools. You have all these things in your pocket. Let's see what you learned. Let's see how you're going to use them. And this is where you feel like you are being like stretched. Like
Yeah.
it's no fun. It's really ugly a lot of the time. It's where you get to make the biggest decisions of who you're going to be and how you're going to show up and what is now in your bucket. This is a period of life where you get to choose to be that asshole at the store who lashes out because you're feeling a little shitty, or you get to go, I'm really grateful for everything I have. I know I'm being tested. I know that I'm feeling a little depleted, but I'm still going to show up with abundance and love on this cashier who I might have not liked what they said, but I'm no longer that person that lashes out and screams and throws a tantrum and, makes someone else miserable. I'm now the person who shows up and says, cool, that happened. And I didn't like how that felt, but it rolls off me like a duck.
That's true. And that's the thing about it. A lot of people get stuck on a moment that could kind of like bring them back down to that level where they don't want to be, where they're reverting back to their old selves versus embracing the new growth that they've been through. You know what I mean? And it's quite easy to revert back because of the fact that those are how can I say it? Those are habits. Those are actions that we're so used to taking and so it's so automatic for us that we don't we kind of don't see when we revert back because of the fact that we're so used to being that way.
Yeah. And I really love the factor that in our life we have the choice to have the right people in our life, and I call that the round table, who they're going to call you out. It's a crucial and highly important piece that in your life you are aware of who's in your life, who's sitting around your round table, that when you start to divert back to those old habits or those ingrained neural pathways or any of those things that are the old you, there's somebody in your life that's going to call you out and say, hey, cut it out. You're being a dick again. Or that's the old you. Or do you see what you just said there? You need somebody in your life who is going to be that person that reminds you and pushes you forward and doesn't let you become that old version of yourself. Now, there's going to be periods of life where we all make those mistakes. We all fall off the bandwagon for a day. Things happen. The cool part about it is that there's a big difference between us and animals. Do you know what the difference between us and an animal is?
I would say we're more self-aware and we're able to bypass our instincts versus animals where they thrive on instinct.
Pretty much. In a roundabout way, we have the ability to react to our reaction. An animal lives on pure reaction. Deer runs away from headlights. An animal wants to eat, it goes and kills. It lives on instinct and reaction. Yeah. We get to make that choice where we're going to have a reaction. I don't care who you are, what you are, where you are in your journey. That's human nature. You're going to react.
Yeah.
The cool part is how fast has your body trained itself and how much have you learned that you can then react to that reaction? Whether you had a terrible reaction and you told someone to go fly a kite and you were kind of a dick,
yeah,
you can step back and say, whoa, I apologize. That's all me. I'm sorry, man. Uncalled for. Or you slipped up and went down the rabbit hole of an old habit or an addiction or something, and you get to then choose, okay, I had that reaction and this happened, and then I get to go, oh wait a sec, catch myself and react to your reaction.
That's true. And I think those kind of moments are easier when you have people that hold you accountable, or at least or at least people that want your best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you could necessarily have people around you that probably aren't. I don't want to say at your level, but probably aren't in your same path, but they're rooting for you and they know what type of person you are, so they won't allow you to like lower yourself, or like low, or let yourself like get caught up in like whimsical BS. And they're like, hey bro, like, you're better than this. Go do what you gotta do. You're the responsible one. Go do what you gotta do. Even though you're looking at them like, but you get to be petty, you get to act up. Why am I the person that gets held to like a higher standard? Then they're like, you're not me, but you're this person and you're better than this.
Absolutely, it is. I'll go back to it and saying how crucially important it is to know who's sitting in those chairs around your table and who's in your field of support. It is one of those pieces where I always like to be aware of who those chairs are, and crucially aware that all those chairs are always replaceable. There's
Yeah.
never a single one of those seats at your table that is set in stone, that is permanent. You always want to be raising them. You always want to make sure that the right place has the right person in it. Some people are absolute long-term, life-term people.
Yeah.
There are some people that are here for a season, and you have to accept emotionally that they are only there for a season and they're not permanent.
Yeah.
That can be hard. That's really hard for some people to let go and grow. And then there's going to be other chairs where they might be vacant for a really long time until you find the right person to fill it.
That's absolutely true. Especially when you think about the whole person. People, all right, and this is just piggybacking off of what you were saying. Like, people are here usually for a season or a reason. That's how the saying goes, right? You might have
Yeah.
this awesome connection with somebody, that lasts a couple of months, or a mentor type of thing where you're studying under somebody and they're like, all right, cool. I taught you everything you need to know. Go out there and be a butterfly. I got you as a caterpillar. That's it. Go do your own thing. Like, not saying that they won't be in your life, but they're not going to play that same role as for that time frame that y'all were closely connected.
Oh, so true. I've had many people in my life that have been mentors, friends, strategic partners, business partners, whatever you want to call it, that have been there for seasons, who some of them I still keep in contact with. Others I have never heard from again, but I hold on to the lessons that I learned from them. And I am incredibly grateful for the time that I got to spend with those people. Then there's people who I brought them into my table, and it was the biggest mistake I've ever made. I had to learn the hard way that that person did not belong in that seat at all. And I wanted them there because I had, idolized them. I had put them in these places that I got so wrapped up in, and it was all the wrong reasons. It's really fascinating how we can do that. And people, we lose sight of that. Again, human, guilty of it, done it 100 times. But it's building that awareness to also make sure that whoever's in your life are there for the right reasons, and you're not bringing them in because of an ego, because of an idolization, because of a fancy trend or habit or outward influence that, or even the people who, and they're going, this is a fun one. Okay. When you start growing or start doing something successful or start leveling up your life, you're going to have people who want to grab onto you. You're going to want to have people who want to ride your success. And you got to be aware of those people as well.
Yeah, definitely. because those kind of people aren't the people that really want your growth.
No,
What they want is just to piggyback off of your success and launch themselves off of that. You know what I mean?
absolutely, I do.
And then on top of that, you also have to be aware of the type of people who, are at a certain level. They could be like, let's say, a level above you in whatever career path or whatever you may be doing, and they're there because they see your talent, they see your spark, and they want to have a piece of that. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And it's because their own light and their own energy is diminishing, and they're trying to like revitalize themselves with other people's work.
And it's where we can round ourselves right back to always being aware and asking the right questions of who am I? What are my core values? What are my beliefs? Do these align with everything that's coming into my life and who's around me?
Yeah.
It's this wild balance that I still have to wrap my brain around and remind myself some days. And some days I struggle with it about playing this ebb and flow, this back and forth game on the balancing ladder of making sure that everything I'm doing, my projection of growth, where I'm taking my life, who I let in my life, everything I'm doing still comes back to me. And I can look at it every day and wake up and go, I love who I am. I know that everything in my life right now, the people, the stuff, the places, everything I'm doing is aligned with my 4 to 5 main structures, core pillars. Every morning, I want to be able to wake up and look in the mirror and go, hell yeah, I love that dude.
Oh yeah, man. And that's how it gotta be though. And that's the thing about it. A lot of people look in the mirror and they don't like what they see because of and it's usually comes down to a very few key details why they don't like what they see. Is either they have this image of themselves that they're not living up to, or what I see is that they're in a stage of regret where they're like, I could have done so much more than what I am doing now, and they don't see it as it's a new day, it's a new dawn kind of thing. Whereas like, all right, cool, I could have been doing this, but I could start that today. I could start right now if I really wanted to. And a lot of people don't get that.
Every single day, I'm going to put this out to your audience too, because I do this every day. And I really hope that everybody can implement this in their life. It takes 30 seconds. When you get up, go to your mirror, look at the mirror for 30 seconds, give yourself a good smile, and pick 3 things that you really like about yourself. For me, sometimes I go, you know what? I really like the way my arms look, or, you're going to pick like a physical attribute, you know, something that's like, hey, I really like this about myself. And then you're going to pick 2 things that you go, I could really work on that. Let's think about setting a goal, or let's set the goal and let's, work on this. And then you're going to pick 1 thing where you go, this is my big, hairy, audacious goal. You have 3, 2, 1. 3 things you love about yourself, 2 things that you go, this could be a goal. 1 thing that you go, this is the goal. And what I have found for myself, and everybody that I talk to that implements the 3, 2, 1, says that that little action that takes 15, 30 seconds actually starts their day or can transform their mind into progress, way better feeling about themselves, and just your day starts like $1,000,000. Your day actually, from those 30 seconds, projects you forward. And then it's doing that every day. And all of a sudden, you're going to look at yourself 6 months to a year down the road and realize that you go, holy crap. Like, look at how far I've come. Look at what's changed. You get to do that reflection moment. And I
Yeah.
love it.
Now the reflection moment is always cool because you could like see, because the thing about it is like with growth is crazy because of the fact that you start, all right, for instance, like your 3, 2, 1 thing. That's like subconsciously programming yourself to put in that work, to get motivated. and you're starting off your day with a positive note. A lot of people, they start off their day just free flowing, and that first negative trigger sets their whole tone. But when you're, consciously putting in that positive trigger, you're motivating yourself to put in action. And that's a big thing too. Like a lot of people don't, like, you could have a positive mind state, but if you're not putting in any action towards that momentum, towards that energy, you're not really gonna do much. And that reflection period is gonna look exactly the same. You know what I mean?
There's a couple other little tweaks that I'm going to throw out to you here that have made a huge difference for me. That when I tell people they think I'm a little bit insane, but I'd love for you to try it and tell me what you think down the road. I have to ask you actually this first. Do you wake up to an alarm on your phone like the majority of people?
Yeah.
Okay. Change your alarm sound to something fun and whimsical and something that, when you wake up, that's the first noise you're hearing. So instead of waking up to the god-awful screeching of some annoying alarm sound or a beeping that just makes your ears cringe when you wake up, I want you to set your alarm to monkeys, to bubbles going, something that you'd wake up and you're like, it kind of gives you a chuckle, make you change your alarm sound. And it's huge. Secondly, don't look at your phone first thing in the morning. I used to roll over in my bed, and the first thing I did was scroll Facebook or TikTok or look at my phone.
Yeah.
Awful for you. I'm not going to tell people don't sleep with your phone beside you. I know there's all kinds of benefits to that, and it's probably easier if you don't. You know what? We all sleep with it there. What I'm saying is just, instead of looking at it right away, get up, go to the bathroom, spend 5 minutes first of your day without looking at your phone. 5 minutes. That's all I ask. From there, start your day with a big glass of water. I don't care what else you do. Get up, and whether it's beside your bed or it's better if you have to walk to your kitchen, start your day with a big glass of water.
True.
Those little components, it's minor, microscopic little things. 1, you're choosing an action for yourself. 2, you're starting to implement new habits. 3, they just make you feel better.
No, it's true. When you start implementing certain habits, like I do have a habit of not using my phone for the first hour of my day. So I will roll over, turn off my alarm. But after that, I'm in the bathroom. I'm like, doing my shower thing, getting ready, walk the dog. And then after that, it's like, all right, cool. I could like kind of do whatever I need to do with my phone. But yeah, that first hour of the day, I don't connect, man. I just keep that for myself.
But the alarm sound one, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I guarantee you, change your alarm sound to something that makes you kind of giggle or feel a little silly. It is huge.
No, my alarm sound right now. All right, so I'm an anime head. So there's an older anime called Air Gear, and like during their intermission, they have like a really cool sound. So that's my alarm sound right now.
Nice.
Yeah. It's not like a beeping because that would drive me crazy. But
I honestly don't know how I used to or how people wake up to the morning to a screeching old school alarm sound. That would actually like viscerally make me angry now. If I woke up to that screeching, beeping, electronic, ugly noise, I think it would start my day off making me angry.
but if you think about it, it's like that noise, that like kind of alarm sound sends your body into a state of shock. You know what I mean? Like first thing in the morning, you hear that, it's kind of like shocking to the system because it's like, all right, cool, something's happening. You need to get up now, kind of thing. Versus like gently waking you up and be like, hey, come on, let's start the day, bro.
So has that been a socialized, ingrained part of our body thinking we need to live in fight or flight? Because the last thing I want to do with my morning is wake up in shock mode. Living in that high cortisol fight or flight mode, that's surviving. That is not thriving.
No, not at all. Not at all thriving. But if you really think about it, now with all right, and I'm not gonna get too political on this, but now with like the state of the world and how society is, most people, except if you're like living in the upper echelons of things, most people are living in fight or flight. Like, the way the economy is, the way people are like, yo, can I afford rent? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then we're seeing a decline of life quality, I would say, because people are not being fulfilled. Like, yes, like society right now is at a turning point where everybody's kind of like waking up to like they're like, all right, cool, I want to do things that fulfill me, but I don't want to say society economically, society is turning away from that more and more every day.
And that is the greatest challenge that we are living in. Our
Yeah,
society, our world is telling us that it's not okay to be healthy and happy and abundant and thriving. We are living in the craziest times in ever. I'm sure
ever.
you look, yeah, talk to our grandparents, talk to anybody. They're going to say what we're living through right now is absolute insanity. And that is where I felt so passionate. And it came personally, it came from seeing the world around me that I just couldn't do it anymore. And I don't believe that anybody else should be living in such this fight or flight survival mode. This is just the way the world is, and I have to be miserable, and I feel gross, and there's nothing I can do about it, and blah 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 mindset. I want people to wake up and know that they can transform themselves. And when we transform ourselves, we can fight back and transform the world. It starts small and it starts with ourselves. And yet, if more and more and more of us started to choose ourselves and live in a thriving life and know who we were, love ourselves, live in abundance, we'd connect better with each other in the world. We'd understand each other better. We'd be more tolerant. We'd be able to create so much drastic change that maybe, just maybe, would stand a chance in this crazy world we're living in.
I honestly, and this is probably me giving, society a little bit too much credit, but I'm an optimistic kind of guy, right? I truly believe that if people were just to like be a little kinder to each other, probably if media didn't portray as much negativity as it does,
Oh, yeah.
if social media kind of like eased up on making people feel that they have to compare each other to each other, that society could move forward in a way where everybody has more, I don't want to say more than enough, but at least have the essential basics where they're not worried about, am I going to be able to pay rent? Am I going to
Mhm.
be able to afford food? Am I going to get this promotion that's going to, somewhat free me a little bit more financially? And
Yep.
that's the biggest thing about it. Everybody right now, it's not that people aren't kind to each other. It's the fact that they're so stressed out that they forgot how to be kind to each other.
Ooh.
And
Yeah.
and that and that's the craziest shit about it is like if you really sit down, right? And you could go, person to person, it doesn't matter the race, gender, sexual orientation, whatever your religion may be, faith, whatever, right? If you talk to everybody individually, they all want the same thing. They want prosperity, they want peace, and they want to just live life to their fullest potential, no matter what their fullest potential may be. You know what I mean? It may not be, you're creating rockets and going to the moon, but maybe you want to be a poet. Maybe you just want to be a baker. Who knows, right?
Maybe it's just my belief, but I truly think that all of that starts from looking within and doing
Oh
the
yeah.
hard work. I truly, at the core of my being, believe that if we were all able to step back and get a little selfish, we'd be way healthier, happier, abundant, and truly living in all those things we say we want. There's so many of us out there, as you were just saying, living in this space that we say we want these things. We talk about all these grand ideas, these dreams, what I would do with my life, and we're not doing any of it. We're letting everybody else tell us what to do, who to be. We're wearing these masks that we go out and we pretend to be somebody. We go out and say we're being somebody. And then we come home and we have no idea who we are or how to get to our goals. We build these vision boards. We say we're going to do all these things. And yet we walk in front of that mirror in the morning and we have no idea. And sometimes we don't even like who's looking back at us.
That's 100% true. And what people aren't really, I think people are getting it, but what it is the lack of um starting what they want to do and maintaining what they want to do. And yet again, this goes back to how society is right now. Like, you feel me? For instance, and I'll take myself as an example. No one was gonna give me the opportunity to host a podcast, right? No big studio was gonna be like, "Hey, you're kind of cool there. Let's give you a multi-million-dollar studio and let's put you in front of all these people and let's see how you do." No one's gonna do that, so I had to open that door for myself. I had to do it myself, and that's what it kind of is. People are waiting for someone else to kind of like give them the opportunity to do what they want or give them the permission to do what they want, versus saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna start doing this, and I know opportunities to grow in this field are gonna be presented to me because I'm already in action or in momentum towards what I want."
Yep. Everything starts with a small action.
Yep.
And whether it's wanting to start a podcast, I'm the exact same way. It takes a small action on top of another small action on top of another action and just continuing to do it. And it's wild. And I know this from experience and I see it every day. The people who are able to keep taking action after action and build that consistency muscle, the universe opens doors to you, presents you with new ideas, new directions. The universe will challenge you and you might have to pry some of those doors open with a darn crowbar.
Oh yeah, or kick them shits
But
the fuck down. But
absolutely. But that is part of the journey. That is us going, okay, I really want this. That door's giving me some resistance. I'm going to boot it down because I know what's behind it.
yeah, and you know what? Shout out to my homegirl Cerise, because she actually, when we were working together, she gave me a really good quote. She was like, "Yo, if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody's gonna advocate for you."
Oh, I like it.
You know what I'm, and you know what I mean is, and it goes yet again is like, you could say you want something, you could say that deep in your heart, I really want this to happen, but if you don't put any action behind that, you don't voice yourself as that, it's not gonna happen for you. Straight up, because you're showing the universe, you're showing God or whatever that you may be saying that you want this, but your actions and your mouth and your actions are doing two totally different things. And
Yep.
without action, there's no intention, and without
Absolutely.
intention, there's no action.
I love it. So, but I got to put a caveat to the door thing because
Yeah.
this is a lesson that I have learned. And I think so many people, I can say they struggle with this. This can be a hard one to wrap your brain around. That sometimes there's doors where we really think we need to fucking bust them down, kick them open. And yet there is a big stone wall behind it that you're going to bust your foot on. The caveat is that we also need to be able to recognize when it's the wrong door to try and burst open. It is having that ability to realize maybe this door is closed for a reason. Maybe I'm not ready, or maybe I need to wait until I have the right tool. Instead of taking my foot to a brick wall, maybe I need to wait till I have the tool of a tank or a jackhammer in my pocket. Everything comes at the right time. And sometimes we need to be able to recognize in ourselves, I need to learn a new tool. I need to acquire something else to be able to open this door. Because if I keep kicking it with my foot, all I'm going to do is bust my foot.
That's absolutely true. But another thing too is that people need to recognize when opportunity strikes. And this is a thing that I've learned throughout life is that we see life as one particular journey. Like we have this grand idea of like how our journey is supposed to go. Like, all right, we're gonna reach level A, then we're going to level B, and then we're gonna go to level C, right? Life ain't like that. Sometimes it's like, all
Nope.
right, cool, you're on level A, let's send you to level T real quick, see what's going on over there, and then we might bring you back down to W here. But we'll see what happens. And everybody sees life as a single flower, but life is really giving you a bouquet of paths to go down. And not every opportunity might be an opportunity that's in your best interest. You know what I mean? Because you might get that multi-million-dollar deal, but then at the end of the day, you're signing away your whole soul. And I
Cool.
don't mean like your literal soul, but you might be signing away everything you worked for because of the fact they're presenting you with like this large check. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You might be giving up, what your beliefs. You might be giving up, how you run things. You might be giving up the freedom that you had while you were doing whatever you were doing. You know what I mean? So just because an opportunity presents itself doesn't mean that is the right opportunity. And
And we,
that's going back to like that brick wall method. You might be kicking down the door for this, but the reason why there's that brick wall is because the universe is like, you know what, this isn't for you, or you're not ready just yet.
that rounds us right back to the beginning of our conversation on knowing what your core pillars and beliefs are and holding firm to them and saying, this is what I stand in, this is what I stand for, and knowing what you will cross and what you will not. Because there are so many opportunities in life that, as you were just saying, somebody might walk up to you with a $5 million check and want you to sign your soul away and say, I'm going to give you your dreams and I'm going to do all this, but you have to do A, B, and C. And you can look at that and go, whoa, $5 million. Ooh, it changed my life. But it crosses every single one of your values, your beliefs. It corrupts you and it makes you do things you would never, ever do. How
Yeah,
does that work for you? So it's having that ability to and maturity and growth and position to say, you know what? That does not align with my beliefs and who I am and what I stand for. I'm sorry, I can't take your $5 million check.
and that's a fact. And Brian, before we actually exit out, right, this is something I ask all my guests: is like, do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or advice for the roomies before we close out?
My greatest bit of advice that I like to leave everybody with is be the person who can look yourself in the mirror and say, I love that person. I know that person. Those things will change your life. When you can look in the mirror and truly 100% tell yourself with all honesty, I love who's looking back and I know who's looking back at me, then you are on the path to change your entire life. Everything starts with yourself because when we are good to ourselves and we know ourselves and we love ourselves, then only can we pour out with true abundance to love everybody else around us.
I feel that. And roomies, remember, without intention, there is no action. Without action, there's no outcome. And remember, not all opportunities may have your best interests at heart. So keep your head on a swivel and keep them eyes open. With that, peace out.